Val.
So, good evening. Hope you're all well. Hope tuko salama. So today's session, we'll be having a few artists join us on the discussion. And just as we're going to discuss a few of the challenges, some of the lessons that we've learned, and of course, some of the opportunities that artists have in Kenya. And there's, of course, since we know that some of the youth, in terms of securing employment or creating employment for themselves, art is one of the things that actually gets to do that. So for today, feel free to join in, feel free to ask questions, and thank you for joining us. So, as you know, my name is Valdivia Virginia. I'm currently the GYF ambassador. I am able to host the Ordinary Voices session as of now, and so I'm glad to have everyone on board. Thank you so much for my guests who also accepted to join in the discussion, and of course, moving forward, we'll be able to have them on board. So, as we start, I'd just like to give a brief of GYF and what exactly it is that we do. And for starters, of course, these are our hashtags. We have Together We're Strong, Molding for Work, Ordinary Voices, which is this session that we have today, and Sports for SDGs in Kenya. And of course, my guests today are Jonathan Efein, who is a content creator. We have Sifa Kibunja, who's an artist, and Victor Nyaga, who is also an artist and film developer. And last but not least, we have Masha, who is also a content creator. And I will allow them this time to be able to introduce themselves just briefly and what they do. So we can start. Whoever is ready to join us, Sifa or Victor, who's willing to go first? We go ladies first. So Sifa, kindly introduce yourself as we begin the session.
Okay, my name is Sifa Kibunja. I'm a singer-songwriter. I write music. My form of expression as an artist is music. And aside from being a student, I'm currently a student also pursuing nutrition and dietetics, but I'm largely a creative who is a songwriter and performs music. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Victor?
Thank you very much. My name is Victor Nyaga. I am, among other things, I'm an artist. I am an artistic chef. I am a musician. I am a writer of music and poetry. And yeah, I think that about sums up my introduction of myself according to what we are doing today. Other introductions are for other things, but yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. And Masha?
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Masha. I serve as a software engineer, creative designer, and recently I started doing content creation for an nutshell that najua sijaweka sura.
Yeah, we are excited to see your face.
Sipendezi hiyo design, sijaoga bado.
Hakuna shida. We still need to see you. We need to see who we are talking to.
Acha niache mata.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I'm not sure. I don't think Jonathan has yet joined us so far. So allow me to proceed as we are able to have this discussion. So basically, I'll want to introduce what GYF does, and then also introduce exactly what it is that we are hoping to achieve from this session. So as Global Youth Forum, our main objective is to eradicate poverty in Africa, and especially Kenya, by equipping the youth the skills that are necessary for them in terms of securing employment or creating employment for themselves. So our mission for the GYF is to empower and develop youth by enhancing their employability potential and also ensuring that they have the necessary skills to secure a job. So for this session, we'll basically feature how the youth have opportunities in terms of art, and especially art in Kenya. And our vision is to be a leading youth NGO in Africa by supporting young people in co-creating a better future for themselves. So we usually have 4 thematic areas that we work under, and we have the first one under education, where we empower the young people with relevant skills for employability purposes. Then we also have adventures, whereby the young people learn to do what they do outside of the classroom. So we engage them in outside adventures to be able to just help them in terms of empowering their skills. Then we also have employment, whereby we enable young people to earn income in terms of whether to earn income through various opportunities, so that they can be able to improve on their lives and also eradicate poverty in Africa. And then last but not least, we have environment, whereby we involve and engage the young people on environmental protection initiatives, for example, in terms of environmental conservation, and of course, implementing some of the environmental policies that we have in order to promote a more green environment. And then after that, some of the values that we are able to at least work on, or some of the values that we hope to be able to show to most of our participants. We want to be honest, trustworthy, and loyal in terms of integrity. And then for respect, we want to be able to respect each and every person's view or opinion. And then we also want to have care in terms of we take care of the world in which we live in through the various initiatives that we have. Then the belief, whereby we are able to explore some of the mindset, some of the attitudes, some of the precepts and concepts that we have as young people. And last but not least, cooperation, whereby we are able to make positive change in the community, and of course, make networks and friends that are able to assist us in the cause that we have. After this, of course, the next opportunity is in terms of what Global Youth Forum has in terms of programs. We have Molding for Work, which has 3 aspects. The first one is Archery for Goals, and Football for Peace. Then last but not least, Ordinary Voices. So in terms of Ordinary Voices, this is what we're doing today, whereby we are able to hear, or at least listen to, the young people who are able to share experiences, of course, share some of the things they want to achieve. So I think as we proceed, I'll be able to just get to ask you a few questions as artists and of course content creators in Kenya, and also just get to learn some of the experiences and some of the opportunities you think that young people can be able to create for themselves or secure for themselves in terms of employability. So I think so far so good. That we go sawa, we okay?
Yeah.
So far so good, you okay? So then I think I'll just start it off in terms of a brief introduction of what each of you does. All of us here are creatives, but of course we are creatives in very different aspects. So starting us out, I'll start with the lady in the house. So just give us a brief introduction of what you do in terms of your music and what you hope to achieve, especially in terms of what is your long-term goal, at least what is your vision as an artist.
Okay, so like I introduced myself earlier, I do music, and the genre that I do is R&B mostly, R&B soul music. And I think what I've done over the years is try to reinvent myself as an artist in terms of, you know, the first assignment of being an artist is knowing what content that you want to put out there. So after realizing my goal, which is honestly just to express myself and try to get inspiration from what is happening to the world around us, and just make sure that I represent other people who are going through the same thing through now my voice, through my art. So my goal is to actually to bring out the perspective of a creative in terms of life challenges, in terms of what we go through ourselves. There are so many things that artists go through in terms of their creation, in terms of the criticism that we face, the lack of support, everything else. And I think in my form of music, I try to relate my emotional experiences to what exactly is going on in the world, even if it's in a minor way. I just try to bring out my perspective as a creative in whatever way I can, in whatever circumstance that I find myself. So I think the long-term goal is actually to just be able to show the authentic, original version of myself, just to express myself in a way that people understand what it is like to live my life or to be a creative. So It's not necessarily in terms of the level of recognition that comes with it. It's more of what people get to view when I put my work out there.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And allow me to also ask Victor. I think Victor, we've met a few times. So what is it that you feel you want to achieve at the end of this process?
At the end of which process?
At the end of your art life, as you're
At the end
pursuing your
of-
art journey, what is your mission? Emma, what is your vision as you're trying to pursue art, or at least trying to become a creative in Kenya?
I think for everyone who is worthwhile, if you're an artist, you'd want your work to live beyond you, because there's only, I don't know, there are very few people whose work actually goes beyond them. You get, you might have kids, you might have a legacy that you want to leave, but some people just get kids and then they go and mess up everything, and you can't really say you did anything, you know. But I guess as many others would want, and that's what I would want, is to have something that actually can reverberate over generations and actually be something that is worthwhile, that will last, an impression or a mark that will live on even after I am not around. So that is what I would want to achieve through my art. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And Marsha, what is your vision or mission in terms of content creation?
If I'm being honest,
Mhm.
yeah. Can I speak Swahili?
Yes, it's okay.
Nilianza the content like 3-4 months ago, and I had no plan. I had no. Ilikuwa nafanya tu for the sake of doing it, like how people just put content, and it started getting a lot of traction on my account, a lot of views and a lot of comments, and so I cannot really say I had an idea to my end goal, but it took a break to figure that out. Because on my content, I don't even show my face. I don't even show who I am. That's not even showing my face right now. But if you've interacted with TikTok, you can. Let me take the.
We're not getting you very clearly. The last. What did you say? The last point.
If you come on interact on TikTok, there's a hand. Let me type my handle.
Okay.
And you'll see I don't even show my face, but then I put out, the goal was to push for safe sex and that, but at the same time, I lost my path with it. So I took a break and I'm trying to figure out my target audience, who, as much as it's safe sex, but who am I telling safe sex to?
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. And last but not least, Jonathan, welcome to the session. Would you like to give us an introduction, just a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, and what is your mission? Or at least, what do you see yourself in the next 10 years? What would you want to see of yourself by then?
First of all, sorry for my tardiness. I was trying to set a few things up, but yeah, I'm so happy to be here and be part of the larger conversation. So I'm Jonathan Effain, a content creator. Happened to fall into that by, I think it was, I didn't expect it, but yeah, there was a YouTube content where they were hosting like content creators, and it was kind of like a launch pad of some sort. And one, getting in there was a bit weird because I didn't see myself as that. A lot of the people that were around me were people who had 3,000 plus, subscribers on YouTube. And so I felt very inadequate. But as the conversation was going on and it was stated that, imagine that you guys are in this very niche space where in all of Kenya, like, these are some of the best people who are creating things, and we had very huge personalities in there.
Yeah.
So when he said that, imagine that everything that you're saying, that's a perspective of how other people are going to view Kenya or perceive Nairobi. And it was such a huge responsibility that I think it made me be like, okay, fine, let's take these things seriously. So yeah, I would say I will start with that I'm a content creator, but I'm also a singer. I'm a film and television enthusiast. That's my career as well. Yeah, so in 5 years or 10 years, where do I see myself? I see myself as someone who's making bigger impacts on society at large. And I'm able to have conversations like these at a bigger platform where there's not just the saying of it, but also the doing of it. Yeah. So yeah. I know it's very vague, but yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan, for that. And actually, thank you to each one of you for the introduction you've given us. And just to kick off the conversation, I'd just like to learn now from you, what are some of the lessons and challenges that you have experienced as artists? Because of course, we understand in terms of the art life in Kenya, there's this idea whereby art should be a part-time thing. So for you as creatives and for you as people who really try to create a space and a name for yourself in the art life in Kenya, what are some of the lessons or challenges that you would really like to let the youth know who are listening, who are planning to actually become creatives? Is there something you can tell them? And I think I will just allow each of you to give me just 2 lessons in terms of what have you learned as an artist or content creator, and the 2 challenges that you think young people will face as they're trying to create a name for themselves in art. So I don't know who would want to just kick off the discussion. I think we've given Sifa a lot of time to start. So maybe, Jonathan, are you okay kicking off the conversation?
Yes. So first question, what I've learned as a creative.
Yes.
I've learned that the same way we put in or invest our time in starting maybe a physical business, that's also the same kind of time we should award being a creative, because sometimes it's you who's the back, unajua wale watu wa nyuma, wale the people who are supposed to be like the wardrobe, the manager, you're the one who's booking the gigs and all that. So you have to wear a lot of hats, especially when you're beginning. And I think that's sipping into the second question, the challenges that I think creatives getting into the industry might face. And it's that separation of this is me representing myself as the artist, and also this is me, the artist now. So sometimes because one of the 2 might not be as maybe doing as well, I think you always have to, I don't know, there's some energy that you need to remove yourself from that. You as the artist, the one who created the thing. So as you're creating it, you might really, really fall in love with it. But also as the manager, you are looking at what other people are doing and trying to place yourself in that same competitive aspect. So when you look down on your art now, it becomes a problem. So yeah, just learn how to separate the 2, but also have energy where the other place is letting you down.
Okay, thank you so much for that. It will be nice to see you also.
Yes, I'm working on it.
Okay, that's okay. And then of course, Victor, what did you say your 2 lessons, or at least your 2 challenges are as you're trying to pursue your space in the creative era?
Thank you. I'll try to be very brief because I know we are a few of us. I take the challenges as also lessons that I can learn from, and I won't cry about, right now there's no money in Kenya, government. Well, I won't say all that. I'll just say what I've seen personally. So I feel there is a challenge, or there is a lesson to be learned in terms of curtailing of creativity, probably to suit a specific audience or criteria. Sometimes you feel your art is a certain way, but then again, you're given maybe a gig or you want to do something, but they tell you, we want you to structure your thing in this kind of way. So you feel as if you're limited or your creativity is curtailed. So that is one of them. Another one is I've realized that talent or creativity is only just about 5% of the work that is required to do. So like Jonathan has said, there are a lot of very many hats that you're supposed to put on. Sometimes some people put them on for you and then you end up being on the back end. Yeah, so we've had very many cases, but that's also another challenge that I've come across.
Okay.
Then there's misuse or misinterpretation of the intent or the content that you have. You might want something to be empowering, but then it's taken another way. You might want to mean something and then it's misquoted or misinterpreted. And that can really devastate you as an artist. Then I also think creativity works like take their own life form. Sometimes we've had like even songs, probably you've sung a song and you just intended it to uplift people in one way, and then you hear it in a campaign, you know, for
Yeah.
elections or something. It can take a totally different angle. So that is also something someone should be prepared to encounter when they are being a creative. Then the biggest one I think is acceptance and respect of the arts as a credible and rewarding profession. You get, because that's a challenge I feel everyone is facing, because if you look at professionalism, it is the paid occupation of involving training and formal qualifications. So if you're
Yeah.
not trained in a certain way, or if there is no formal qualification, then someone cannot say you're a professional. So trying to fight with this mentality that probably this is not something lucrative, this is not something that you can do and people can actually be proud of. Someone can actually say my son or my daughter is a creative, they sing, they write, that's also a very big challenge. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that is something we are still trying to fight as creatives in Kenya. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Victor. So, Masha, what would you say are some of the lessons or challenges that you have experienced in terms of creating content for yourself? I mean, for the public.
I think you knowing your target audience, you need, as much as you are producing music, you're producing your content, you need to know who you're targeting. You can be singing songs, but your target audience is kids, but you're trying to, I don't know, you can make sense, but you're knowing your target audience, and you're not getting consumed with the attention that comes with the popularity. For example, me, I got consumed with it. My videos are getting high numbers of views, so I felt like a celebrity. So, you know,
Okay.
Wait, I'm struggling to hear Masha. So probably he said his sound or something. Is that correct, Val?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Masha, can you just kind of rephrase what you've mentioned before?
Challenges. Ni sauti najua na nguruma. Yeah.
Yeah, say the challenge kindly.
No, the challenge is knowing, not really challenge, but what I've learned is you need to know your audience. And you also need to do the most not to get consumed with the attention that will come from how your content it affect watu. For example, Sifa is a musician. But same she produces a song and then that song blows up. And then if she gets consumed in that popularity, that 2 million views, she might lose herself. And you know, the others had a focus on producing better songs, at a focus on popularity now. Like I mean, I felt I lost myself into that. Oh, nimepata 500,000 views, so I felt like, hey, I'm superstar. But you know, so I had to like take a back and figure myself out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's actually interesting. I think I've gotten especially the point where you say it's easy for a creative to be able to get lost in terms of either the public being receptive or also in terms of them trying to find their voice. And last but not least, Sifa, kindly jump in. What are some of the 2 lessons and the 2 challenges that you've experienced in terms of being an artist?
I'll start with the challenges. I think for me, I've not yet been able to attain a million views or anything, but as a beginner, I'll just call myself a beginner, and as an upcoming artist, I think the first and foremost issue must be finances, for the fact that as an artist, you have to really be the one to do most of the things in terms of the camera, in terms of the lighting, in terms of the editing software, in terms of anything, even the effort that you have to put in. It takes sometimes you have to really be the one to incur the cost, just like Jonathan
Yeah.
has also mentioned. You have to incur the cost that comes with putting out content. So I think financially that is mostly the biggest issue, because you find that some of the people who are actually artists might have chosen to go the unconventional way and they're not doing any 9-to-5 job. This is not like a side hustle. This is actually their hustle. This is what they're doing. So at the end of the day, if you don't have a 9-to-5 that is actually supplementing the is giving you some money to be able to finance your music career, then it becomes an issue, mostly actually for all creatives. And then that's why even the issue of tax is burdening us, because we put in the work, but the government does not put in anything, yet it wants to take from us, it wants to take from the creative. So I think the financial aspect is a very important thing. It's like the first and foremost thing that any creative actually faces. That is number one. Then it's I think the best way that to look at what has helped me in that situation is finding other people who are willing to support me financially, or finding a group of people, because sometimes you won't just have someone willing to first of all, they don't even believe in the vision that you have as an artist. So getting the financial can be a bit of a big deal, but I thank God because I've had a group of supportive people who have helped me in terms of that. The second thing I think is the society expectations. Being an artist or a creative means that you have to defy the norm. You don't have to conform to what society expects of you. So the problem becomes that even in your family, like the root of it all, people are not very accepting of whatever you're doing, whatever it is that you're doing as a creative. So I think for me, those are very personal things. Having to always explain as to what I'm doing. And when the money is not coming in and you're busy trying to strive for this vision as a creative, it doesn't really make sense to people, because mostly what matters is the financial aspect. So I think for me, the societal expectations of who I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to be doing in the 9-to-5 goes against my unconventional self. And as a creative, that becomes an issue. And also the financial support. Those are the two things. And in terms of the lesson that I learned from the fact that there's that societal expectation is the fact that the vision is very personal. I am not supposed to expect anybody to spearhead the vision. I'm the one who's supposed to be able to find the right avenues, because they are there. And if you search, you will find them. So one way is to just accept that the vision is personal and there's no one else who's going to carry the burden for you. It's a personal initiative. And creativity is actually a very personal initiative. It's very independent, and you have to just make sure you pull yourself through and do what is necessary.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much to each one of you as the guest today for just sharing your voice. And I'd just like to give a shout out to the online viewers. Kindly feel free to raise any questions you may have for either one of our guests. Feel free to also speak up, because you can also share some of the opinion you have, and especially as a creative, you can also be able to share some of the lessons or challenges you've learned that you'd like, of course, the young people of Kenya to also learn the same. And so just as we're proceeding with this conversation, I think from basically what all of you have shared, there's of course the challenge in terms of financial. So I would like to pose a theory to each one of you. I believe that the reason why, for example, we say like Kenyan music or Kenyan film is not selling is because as young people, and of course growing up, we were taught that a lot of these creative outlets should be part-time or should be for people who are not exactly, I don't want to call them intelligent, but of course, I'm sure each one of us along the way, we've had that idea that people who are doing art are not exactly very smart, and that's why they choose to do art. And then, of course, you've also learned the aspect where a lot of young people and a lot of creatives have been told that creative pursuits should be part-time and not full-time. So in your experience as content creators, as artists, film developers, what do you think in terms of that? Is it true that actually, if we were taught from a young age that art is actually just as important as education or just as important as other careers, then there would be a very different narrative in terms of the experience of artists in Kenya? So I don't know, Jonathan or Victor, I want to point at you. Would any one of you want to actually explain that? Is it true that actually, because of how we've been raised to look at art, it is a problem to be able to create employment or secure employment in artistic ventures? Oh, is there somebody who's ready to
Victor,
just
you go
jump?
first.
Yes, kindly go first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that has played a role in where we are right now. And it's unfortunate. What I feel what has happened is when things were a bit some time back. I mean, people used to look at art as just a pastime, like you said. But then again, we have to also look at the impact of art. I feel like art is one of the things that has carried down through generations, bits and pieces of our history. You know, I was actually asking someone, what would a life without, for example, music be like? Like you just wake up for a full week, the whole world, no music, no nothing, no sound, no nothing. It would be a very weird thing, you know. And
Very true.
if you look at music, because I was looking at music as it's like a historic vault, you know. It carries a lot of folklore, it carries a lot of very many things. And even in conjunction with other forms of art, for example, like fashion, if you talk about film, if you talk about theater, like
Yeah.
music carries that kind of probably atmosphere and all that. So what happened is when earlier when people used to see this as a pastime, yes, probably it was a pastime, but then a generation came where they saw this thing, or we saw this thing as something that can actually help us, something that can actually create revenue. And I think most of society has not really gotten to that place where they can appreciate that this is something on its own can actually be something that can be lucrative, you know, that can actually
Okay.
help people in their journey. So yeah, there has been that, and that contributed, but I think we are steadily and slowly trying to change that and to cap that you can actually make a living from creative work. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Victor. Jonathan, would you like to also share your perspective on that?
Yes, I would say I've seen it happen in my own life as well.
Yeah.
Let's say because I was doing hospitality management. That's what I finished high school and went straight into.
Okay.
At the back of my mind, I always knew that I had other pursuits, other artistic pursuits. But even if I did it back a bit, I would say joining Upper Hill. And right now, Upper Hill is just known as being a school for creatives. You know, it enables that. But yeah, but during my time, it's Kidogo scared. What's it called? It just went into sports, and right now sports was now like the big thing. You know, every teacher was like, you need to be doing something in there. And yes, I love it, but I'm not really passionate about it. Yeah, so I felt like if someone empowered me at that moment to be like, you know what, you can actually do singing, you can actually create things and be tech savvy, you know, if I had that kind of affirmation, and yes, it did come in spaces, right? But if it was consistent, I think I wouldn't have meandered so much into so many other things. I would have really focused into it. But that being said, I think right now, I think as we grow older, we kind of assume that just because we pass through that phase, that no one else is going to pass through the same thing. So right now, I think if we educate more and if we talk about it more and actually show people that actually you can actually make a living out of this, you just need to put in the effort the same way the doctor from high school, they have been putting in the effort. Yeah, just I think it will be really impactful.
Okay, thank you so much. And Sipa?
Okay, I agree with Victor and Jonathan. And I think the reason why people think that being a creative is something that maybe people are not smart enough to do is because it does not require you books and a lot of, you don't have to go and read and become all those things. You can, if you're trying to do things that are actually like studying. Jonathan, I think, is also doing something in terms of music, like studying that. In terms of the talents, or in terms of coming up with films, in terms of stuff like that, people have not seen a system that supports creative arts. So they think that because it's like you just wake up and you start singing, or you wake up and you start writing. There's no system that maybe they understand that this is how people actually take time to develop this. So it looks like it's just free entry. You see the way we do in business, it's like this market is open, anybody can enter and anybody can do anything. So I think that's why sometimes for them it translates as if it does not require any brains for you to go in and start doing something. But it's now the work, when you're already in there, you start realizing the work that you need to do. You need to actually start editing your stuff, and you need editing softwares, even in terms of creating, like you coming up with an authentic plan or an idea to start something and to execute it to the latter. It requires a lot of things in terms of even business. It actually borrows from other disciplines. So at the end of the day, it actually requires a lot of mental equity for you to be able to develop your art and make something out of it. So this whole idea that people who are artists do not need to have brains, it's a false notion, because most of the people, even our parents, you find some of them were actually artists before they started doing all these other things. And they realize that the effort that comes with doing that is something, it looks like a dead end at that point. But if they actually told you that the struggle that is there for you to actually pursue an artistic pursuit, it requires a lot of calculating and preparation. And it's just like any other business, actually. Even as a creatives, it started as a creative idea before it became anything. So I think that whole perspective of thinking that creatives are not smart enough, I think it's mostly in the work that we do. The moment you get into that creative field, you understand what it is and what it takes for you to be actually a successful artist. There's more that comes to play. And I think from the beginning, if I think what would really help is that in the system of the family system, because it's like the root level, if people actually, our parents told us that this is something very normal and everybody is actually a creative in their own right, and they actually pushed for it in terms of their own experiences and told us, by the disappointment will come, and yes, like there are things that will happen, and you'll have to really be perseverant and all those things, then we'll be able to make it. We'll stop looking at it as if it's just something that people do as a side hustle, because the most important, the reason people think it's a side hustle also is because of the financial aspect. Before you manifest anything as a creative, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and then it goes down to the systems that have not been put in place to be able to help us to get to that point. So I think that's a whole discussion on its own, because it's actually one of the challenges that we face at the root level as artists, and in terms of even the education system that we experience, such as CPCSI, but the one that we experienced as whatever age we are in at this point. So it's quite a discussion.
Okay, thank you so much for those insights. And I think also just adding on to that conversation, I believe that even as a system, like the systems that are in place for the Kenyan industry, or at least for the Kenyan art life, is that we've also heard from even bigger acts like Sauti Sol or Ilani, where they've actually mentioned that dealing with a body like is it called MCSK, the Music Copyright Something of Kenya? But we're also dealing with that kind of body. Sometimes it actually almost does not even benefit the artist, especially in terms of the royalties that are paid for. And just to be able to anchor onto that point, I think in my experience, because I'd wanted to be a creative previously before I pursued law, I think when I was trying to do my writing at the time, one of the challenges that I faced in terms of looking for a publisher was the idea that the books that I get to publish have to almost be synonymous to the set books that are being taught in high schools. And for me, I think that was the thing that really got me out of that. Like the moment I started writing and I realized that's what the publishers were asking for, because at the time I'd actually gone to one of the top publishers in Kenya. I felt like that was something I wasn't planning to do. I didn't care to do. And so I just dumped it. And that was all the way almost like 10 years ago. So I do feel like sometimes even the space that we have as creatives in Kenya, we also need to have people who are willing to pursue different avenues, or at least different viewpoints of what art should actually mean to young people. And of course, now I'm sure each one of you has heard about the finance bill. And of course, you've been aware that what the bill proposes is that 15% should be taxed for creative pursuits, or at least content creators in Kenya. how do you think that kind of impact, or at least that kind of tax could actually do for the creative that is currently pursuing, music or film or writing or TikTok? Because at the end of the day, they require to have, at least in terms of their income, 15% of that actually taxed. So do you feel like this is something that will benefit or disadvantage the artists? And I think Marsha, I'd like to just call upon you for this one. What do you think? Is this bill more profitable to the artist, or is actually doing more damage to the artist?
It's doing a lot of damage because 15% is a lot.
It is. It is.
Because if you try 25,000 with 15%, you may.
Are you breaking? Kindly.
The 15% is quite a stretch. I don't know. About
it seems a bit more too much. It's a bit expensive considering what the artists are making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10% of 100,000. That's a lot in paying tax.
Yeah.
And with content creation, there's no monthly stipend.
Very true. Very true.
A leap after 3 months, I'll have to 15%. That's a lot.
Yeah. And of course, for example, for you in terms of TikTok, do you believe that at this point we have young people who are willing to jump on? They just don't have maybe the tools in terms of maybe lighting and the camera, like some good camera to be able to record some of this content.
But I don't think you need the good cameras and whatever. As long as you produce content, people will be there to consume. If you want to produce content,
I like that perspective. The fact that you're saying as long as you produce content, there will always be people who are willing to consume. I like that perspective. You're coming from that positive, glass half full type of scenario.
It's not really glass half full. Like sitters, studios, two bedrooms. So as long as you build a house, someone will go and stay there. As long as you produce content, someone will consume it, whether good or bad.
Okay, thank you for that. Victor?
Thank you. I feel even before we can talk about that bill and all that, but still you cannot set the prices of a salad if you have not actually acknowledged Mama Mboga. What I mean is, we cannot start wanting to tax people and we do not even understand what they do. You get, like very Marsha was saying, sometimes you can even get a gig that will last you for the next 3 months. So how don't you understand what I'm trying to do, and then you want to come all of a sudden? And so I feel the conversation should be taken a bit further back, so we understand who are our content creators, what are they trying to do, how are they, because I feel most content creators are actually, I think most of us here are Kenyans, maybe the ones who are listening. There has been a very big problem of employment. So if I go out and try to employ myself, because right now creating content and it's not paying you, you must have somewhere else that you're getting daily bread. So if this is where you're getting your daily bread and someone does not understand how that goes and then they want to come and tax you, I feel we should take a step back, even as a society, and understand how these things work. Who are these people? What are the challenges they face? Then how can we tax them? If we want to tax them, you get. So for me, I feel that's way in front. Once our society gets to a place where we actually accept and acknowledge creatives for what they do, then we can have that conversation. That's my take.
Okay, thank you for that. Of course, I'm saying our time is kind of limited, so I'll just kindly ask for Sifa and Jonathan, then put it in under 1 minute. What do you think in terms of, do you feel as though this finance bill is actually beneficial to the content creator? So Sifa. Jonathan, jump in. Sifa first, ladies first, and then Jonathan.
Okay. I think it's not favorable to artists. Definitely, that would be my take. And because of time, And also think the point that Masha said about you don't even need cameras and stuff, that's talking from actually privilege, because kuna tunatumia kabambe na hizo vitu bado, like, you know, it depends also on your social status. Saa zingine kuna watu wenye they actually need, you know, you need a smartphone, you need some good lighting. And even when the brands are coming to approach you sometimes when they want you to do something for them, imagine you'll have to probably get a photographer. Kwanza for people who are doing like fashion design, you get gym models for your stuff, you have to get a photographer, you have to edit that video. When it comes to the real business, because you know in TikTok and social media, you can use it as a marketing strategy. But now when you start working with brands, you have to give them also good quality stuff, because now they're paying you. And then also before they pay you, you have to make sure you use your own money kwanza to be able to get all those other things in order, so that now they can pay you to release the content. So it's a lot of things. But I think increasing tax to 15% is actually very unfavorable, because at the end of the day, the artists are the ones who put in so much of the work and the money to get to that, and also discourage other people who want to start creating content, because that's just a high amount to charge for creatives. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And Jonathan, take us home with your point.
Yes, I think everything has been said, and I would echo what Victor said. You can't really go seeking for tax where you're not really implementing something that in from a perspective of, I understand what you guys are facing. Like if we had money invested in us, like I think it would be so much better if we, because you're seeing that there's help coming in. Like Sifa was saying, like you get to invest so much so that you have that quality thing that is being expected of you. And even sometimes when you're quoting your prices to these clients, they're like, okay, fine, I want what you have just said, but I want it at, let's say, a markdown of, let's say, 20%. And you're like, okay, but if you want it at that price, then just expect that it will be lower quality. But that is not something that is not going through. So I think the government is trying to help us, not help us, to ask from a place of assumptions, you know, even the things that they are saying, suggesting. I was listening to Parliament, their proceedings 2 days ago, and then they were saying that we will create ICT centers in the counties. But then again, you're looking at it at, yes, you're creating the centers, but you're not really impacting me so much, because I have Wi-Fi where I am, or maybe I can afford 20 bob airtime where I am. So like it really affects things that are really helping me out. So I think when there's that understanding, things will be better, way better.
Okay. Thank you so much for these insights. Of course, I love the discussion as we are proceeding, and of course, I'm taking it from our discussions that majority of you actually have turned your passion into something that you want to actually become unemployed, or not really employed really, but something that is going to be able to give you income, at least eventually. So basically what the youth, or at least young people, are learning from this discussion is that you can be able to turn passion into, you know, a job. What are we telling people? Is this the same message you're trying to portray? I'm saying a totally different thing.
Yeah, you can turn the passion into a venture, actually. Then the people who actually are willing to pay for your creativity, they're willing to give you opportunities for that. I've been in situations where people are willing to pay good amount of money just for an hour of me singing and entertaining people, and it didn't take anything from me. I actually got more than what I would have invested in putting. So yeah, it's very possible for us.
So your creative space is say music, like you make music, right?
Yeah, I make music.
Can we ask you to sing us a line just to see whether, you know, feel free to sing 1 or 2 lines. We can be able to be the judges for your art.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can try.
Kindly, should I say, kindly sing 1 or 2 lines in a span of less than 1 minute.
2 lines hata sitakuwa nimetengeneza melody, bado we are beginning warm up.
Give us what you can give us in the shortest timeline possible.
Oh my God. I'm not scared of lions and tigers and bears, but I'm scared of. I'm not scared to perform at a sold out event, but I'm scared of. Yeah, something of the sort.
Something like that. Thank you.
Next
thank
time I
you so
might
much.
sing a whole song. I don't know if you
In
heard
fact,
me, but
what you
yeah.
should do, you should be able to post some of your links. In fact, for each one of you, you should be able to actually share your social media handles and social media platforms that you're
Yeah.
actually marketing your art. Yeah. So that at least
Yeah.
for the people who are also listening to us online, they can be able to actually access some of this stuff that you're doing, because it will still be good because it will create a space for yourselves. I think in terms of that, we are so far so good. And of course, looking at the time, we have 6 minutes to the end of the session. So I would just like to ask each of you to just give a call to action or just basically advice. What advice would you give to the young creative in Kenya who's looking to secure a spot for themselves, or who's looking to turn their passion into actually a job whereby they can be able to get employed by themselves to create income? So I think, who was the person we've not had very well? I think I'll start with Marsha. Marsha, what would you want to advise, or what do you want to give the youth in terms of a way forward for them? 1 minute each.
Go where there's no path and leave a trail. Basically,
go where there's no path and leave a trail.
Yeah. Basically,
Okay.
other people are doing, do something new. Yeah. People like new things.
Okay. Okay. You're a man of few words indeed. Should I go to Victor? Would you like to give us what advice would you want to give to the young people who are listening to you, who want to pursue employment opportunities or at least jobs in terms of art?
Art is serious, is as serious as any other profession. The amount of work you put in as a doctor, as a lawyer, as a nurse is the same amount of work you're expected to give as an artist. Don't be mediocre.
Yeah.
If someone does not understand what you're doing, good for them,
Yeah.
good for you, live your life. At the end of the day, art should disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. So if you're doing one or the other, you're okay. Never be in the middle, be outstanding, you'll make it.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. Jonathan, what would you like to give? What advice would you like to give to the young people who are trying to pursue art?
Yeah, I would say know yourself. Really, really know yourself. Sometimes we think that it's something of no value, but really, really know yourself. Because one, you can only work on what you see. And it's kind of like a surgeon trying to make something, to cut through something. They really need precision to do that. Don't be afraid of the lessons, and sometimes those lessons look like failures, and it's not. If you choose to, like what you are saying, Val, look at the glass half full, there's always a lesson there, always a lesson.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And last but not least, Sifa, what would you like to tell the young people in terms of what should they have, what should they do in terms of pursuing employment in terms of art-related activities?
I think I'll just say you must have a plan. Just have a plan of what you want to do, of the vision you have. Yeah, make a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Very, very true. And so, for example, for the young people, I think we need to be able, of course, to give them much more, should I say, guidance in terms of how they should pursue some of their art-related activities. I feel like a lot of young people, they know what they want to do, but they don't know how to go about it. Do you feel like that is actually a true thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I think I would just say this: YouTube is really, really like helpful. So I know that there's so many things that you need to achieve, and I know that it's very specific. So just use the internet. Use it, please. Use
the internet. I think actually that's some good. I think that's actually some good advice. And for example, I think Jonathan, you do play the guitar, right?
Yeah.
Do you have it ready? Can you play us something before we leave the session?
Let me. But hey,
we just want a brief just something small to see some of the stuff that you make. I don't know, Victor.
Okay.
I also want to put you and Masha also on the spotlight, but I don't know how to be able to do that in terms of your content creation. I don't know what to
Some
really ask.
poetry.
Some
Some
poetry.
lines.
So
Yeah.
Victor does poetry.
Yeah. He has said it
Okay.
in the introduction.
So after Jonathan plays the guitar for that 1 minute, Victor is going to give us 1 minute of some poetry. Victor, are we ready?
Who's starting?
No, we're waiting for you to continue.
Oh, okay. So
Yes,
I
yes.
had a live on Friday, and
Uh-huh.
I was speaking. It was just a fame introduction into the music industry, and
Okay.
yeah. So it was just me entering into the field of music, but then
Okay.
as a content creator, being in charge of the production, being in charge of getting the artists there. Even though I am the
Yeah.
artist, but also so yeah, that's what it was, and it was a really, really good, loving learning curve.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
this is the first song that I did, and it's called Grace. Grace
Yeah.
because it's the first song that I sang
Mhm.
after my my trying to ask the God, like, what am I going to do? And I knew that music was it. So this is it.
Yeah.
I'm just a man out here in these streets. I'm working out. I'm just a man out here in these streets, barely working out. Pathway from sin into freedom. How to get free from this wisdom. Come as you are, don't take cover. He said, come and be free from your lover. First lovers of your heart and your soul. First lovers of your mind. First lovers of your mind and your soul. First lovers of your heart. Give me grace. As you can hear, I didn't do warm up, but yeah.
But it's okay. Yeah, I think so far so good. I personally loved it. I don't know if the rest will say the same thing. I personally
Yeah.
loved it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and thank you so much, of course, for jumping on board, especially for you and Sefa. I think I've put you on the spot so unexpectedly. But thank you so much to all of you who've joined in for this chat. And of course, I know there's so much more conversation to be held in terms of this specific topic. But other than that, I am truly grateful for each one of you for creating time in terms of also appearing on this session. And of course, I thank you also for just sharing experiences in terms of what can the young person in Kenya expect as they're trying to get into the art life in Kenya. So thank you so much for your time, for your session. And thank you so much for the online viewers who've also been with us the whole time. And of course, feel free to keep the conversation going because, of course, our people, I think they'll leave their social media handles in the comments, and then after that we can be able to link up with them. But other than that, thank you to our guests and see you again next time. Have a nice time.